I grew up in my father's bakery in Alsace in France, and naturally was trained to appreciate great bread. Great bread, just the recipe that I want to share with you today, flavored with some walnuts and raisins and rosemary. And what is really great about that recipe today also is I will be baking it in a brick oven which has a stone in it. And what the stone really does, when you're baking the bread on it, you have really a professional result, just like in my father's bakery. So let me share the recipe with you. I have some yeast, and I have a little bit of a lukewarm water. The lukewarm water is just to get the yeast really started, and what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to add the yeast in the water, stir it up, and what you really want, you want to let it sit probably for about 3 to 5 minutes to make sure that actually that mixture just foams up. And when it foams up, that means you know that the yeast is really alive, and later on will rise the whole bread. And now I'm moving over to my food processor, and I have my 3 flours here. I have rye flour. I'm going to put that in, and I have some whole wheat flour, and I have also some bread flour. So then I'm adding a little bit of salt, just a tiny little bit of salt. There you go, and some oil. So once I have that, I'm just going to put the cover on it and just going to pulse it for about 10 seconds. So that the salt and everything is mixed evenly into the flour. Then I'm just going to pour the liquid over it. All right, here we go. I just put that into the feeding tube. So that was the yeast, and just going to run it now until really the dough comes together and forms a ball. And you see, as soon it really comes together, see, I just want to show you how you can see it. You can mix it a little bit, and at that stage, the dough is ready. So you see how easy really it is to make. So at that stage, let me take it out from the cup, and I'm just going to transfer that on the cutting board, and I'm just going to nicely knead that dough together, and I can feel how, by having worked the dough, how elastic the dough will be, and that's exactly the consistency that you really want. It's like basically putting some stress on that dough, and then after that you let it rise slowly and let it rest. And what I will be doing here, let me just put a little bit of flour on it, and I'm going to transfer that dough in a plastic bag. And the plastic bag, just avoid that the crust builds up, because if a crust builds up, automatically the dough wouldn't rise as well. So here I'm going to transfer that, punch it down a little bit. I'm going to close my bag, and just going to let that rest in a warm area in the kitchen for about an hour and a half ago, until basically that dough doubles the volume. So here we have the dough going. Once I have that, I have one which is ready right here, and you see really how that dough has actually doubled in size, and that's exactly how I want it. So we're going to take it out from the bag, and you really want to flour the dough like I showed you, so it doesn't stick actually on the bag. I'm just going to punch it down in order to work it, you see. So I'm just going to use my fingers and just to spread it out in kind of a square. And once I have that, I will add those fabulous ingredients. So again, I have my raisins right over here, and I have my walnuts. So we're going to spread all those inside here, and of course the rosemary, which really going to make a big difference later on when you're going to be baking the bread, and probably later on when you're going to bake the bread, the entire house probably smell rosemary, and that's probably those memories that I have from home when they were baking the bread. So you see, I'm just going to knead everything into the dough. Just like that, and at that stage you have not to worry about overworking the dough at all. You just see, you just work it up. Like I said, you put all stress on that dough, and then the dough will rest again and actually will rise. I have a little bit of corn flour, so the corn flour really avoids from the bread or the dough actually to stick and to rise really nicely. So I'm gonna pick it up, transfer it here. And we're going to let it rest and basically let it rise now for probably another half an hour. And I always recommend to actually cover up then our dough with a little plastic film, so again that there's no crust to build up and that little loaf really rises beautifully. And here I have one that has been rising, and you can see how it actually doubled again of the size. So basically that one is ready to put in the oven. I'm just going to slice it a little bit in here just for that the dough actually is going to open up once we're going to bake them. So kind of put a nice little design into my loaf, and you will see later on it bakes, it just cracks and opens up. So at that stage, let's put that loaf in the oven. So pull it out, make sure I get the stone out, and like I said, really the result is definitely that stone in an oven is going to make a fabulous, fabulous bread. So we just very gently move it on there, as you can see. And now I will be baking that loaf at 450 degrees for about 30 minutes at the convection mode setting, and after that I'm going to turn down the temperature to 425 for about another 15 to 20 minutes. And here we have it. You can see how beautiful the bread is, and really what that stone really does to the bread to develop that beautiful crust on it. And then therefore you can see the nuts and the walnuts, and it's actually the best bread you can bake at home. And again, you will have the entire aroma in your entire house. So I hope you try it.